Imagine telling the most powerful banker in the country to cut rates and he just straight up ignores you. That's exactly what's happening right now. Trump's throwing heat, Elon's cracking jokes, the economy's giving mixed signals, and Jerome Powell, he's just standing there like, nah, we good. This week, all eyes are on the Federal Reserve, the squad that controls America's money supply and sets interest rates. And despite Trump's full court press, the Fed is expected to hold steady on interest rates. No cuts, no change, just vibes. But what's really going on behind the scenes? Let's break it all down, plain and simple. Man, Trump's been on a mission. He's been barking at the Fed, demanding rate cuts like he's ordering off the dollar menu. He hit Truth Social last Friday screaming, "There's no inflation." Said gas is $1.98, groceries are down, and it's time to start chopping rates. Basically, false. The real numbers, gas is averaging $3.18 nationwide and not $1.98. Groceries, they've jumped 0.5% in 2 of the last 3 months, and they're up 2.4% year over year. Inflation might be cooling, but it's still well above the Fed's 2% target. So what's Trump really doing? He's applying pressure. He wants rate cuts to juice the economy before the election. It looks good politically. Lower rates equals more spending, cheaper loans, and Wall Street vibes. But the Fed, they're not a campaign tool. At least they're not supposed to be. Now, here's the real deal. The Fed's key interest rate is sitting at about 4.3%. That's the highest it's been in over a decade. And they've kept it there for one reason, to kill off inflation. Back in 2021, Powell and his crew thought inflation was just a blip. Transitory. It blew up in their faces. Inflation soared to 9.1% in June of 2022, and they caught major heat. And while Trump's out here yelling, cut the rates, Powell's saying we'll wait. He's playing defense. No sudden moves, especially not with Trump's new tariffs threatening to drive prices back up. Those tariffs, that's more pressure on supply chains, which means more price hikes and more inflation. So why would the Fed cut rates now? Only to watch inflation spike again? They won't. Now, here's where it gets sticky. The Fed is supposed to be an independent agency, not taking orders from the White House. But with Trump posting, tweeting, and throwing elbows, that independence is getting tested. If Powell cuts rates too soon, folks will say he folded to Trump. If he waits too long and layoffs start happening, they'll say he choked. It's a lose-lose situation. Even Elon Musk jumped in the ring. Last Wednesday, he clowned the Fed for spending $2.5 billion renovating 2 buildings in D.C. He said they are paying interior designers with taxpayer money. Talk about throwing gasoline on a political fire. But the Fed fired back, said local building codes force them to build downward instead of upward, and construction costs are inflated too. Fair, but it's still not a good look when America's struggling and your office glow up costs more than some small country's GDP. Now, meanwhile, there's a shadow play happening in the background. Kevin Warsh, a former Fed governor, is positioning himself to possibly replace Powell once his term is up next year. And Warsh ain't shy. He just gave a speech at the IMF saying the Fed's wounds are self-inflicted. He blamed Powell for mismanaging inflation, called for a strategic reset, and said the Fed lost credibility by joining global forums like the Climate Change Summit. Translation? He's coming for Powell's seat. And if Trump wins re-election, best believe Powell might be out and Warsh might be in. Right now, we're in a weird place. Inflation is slowing, but not gone. The job market is stable, but softening. The stock market wants rate cuts, but the Fed ain't moving. Even Wall Street thinks the Fed will cut sometime in July or September, depending on how Trump's tariffs hit the economy. If layoffs spike or unemployment starts rising, Powell might have to cut rates just to keep things from sliding into a recession. But if inflation keeps creeping, especially from those tariffs, the Fed will stay locked in no matter what Trump says on Truth Social. So let's be real. Trump wants to pump the brakes on interest rates. Powell, he's not flinching. The Fed's walking a tightrope between political pressure, economic data, and public trust. Right now, the rates are staying put. And that decision is bigger than politics. It's about keeping the economy from overheating or crashing. And with Powell's legacy on the line, he's playing the cautious. Keep your eyes on gelato. If the economy takes a hit, the Fed might start easing up. But don't expect fireworks this week. This ain't about who talks the loudest. It's about who's playing the long game. Now, this is Millions Made News. Stay focused, stay informed, and stay in the game. Peace.